Thank you, Alvin, and I want to thank Edith for giving me the opportunity to speak to you about risk management. I don't know if it was planned to have my presentation after one which talked about stress and anxiety. And I know that when some of us hear risk management, it causes stress and anxiety, but you have now a cure, which is to go and do some gardening. But let's go to work. Have you ever seen a police officer on point duty? Yeah? When a police officer is on point duty, what do? Huh? You pay attention and you obey the directions of the person on point duty. ChatGPT says the purpose of point duty is to ensure the smooth flow of traffic and prevent traffic jams and accidents. Well, my fellow co-laborers in Jesus Christ, this morning I'm going to be on point duty. And because I'm on point duty, what does that mean? To pay attention and obey the instructions. And as a reminder that this is not to cause you stress and anxiety, on the back of my vest it says, Arm Cares, Adventist Risk Management Cares. We care about your ministry as you seek to restore fallen humanity into the image of their Creator, as you seek to restore health and wellness to this population. We care. And because we care, we stand on point duty. Our Ontario Conference tagline, you may have seen it, you should have all seen it by now, connecting like Jesus. And I want to remind you that connecting like Jesus involves managing risks. So when we talk about medical, missionary, and health ministry activities, there are a few common things that come to mind. We have medical mission trips, short-term or long-term travel. I'm not going to talk too much about that today, but if you are planning a medical mission trip, please contact myself and Edith so that we can walk you through the proper processes in order to make sure that you are protected while out of the country. Then, of course, we have personal evangelism. Many of you are here because you have a personal desire to use the health ministry, the right arm of the message, in order to reach fallen humanity. Health screening and fairs. We're going to spend some time there because we're getting a lot more requests for these type of events. And then, of course, we have medical and dental, and I'm going to include vision clinics. These are some of the core activities that we are using to promote health and wellness to our communities. Let's start off with health screening and fairs. And remember, I'm on point duty. Okay. So a health fair or screening event involves performing non-invasive tests such as measuring body weight, body mass index or BMI, blood pressure. It might involve cooking classes. It might involve exercise classes and a number of other things. Now, I don't have the time to go through every possible scenario, but we have to look at principles, okay? So here's a question for you. At a health screening or health fair, can we provide a diagnosis, recommend treatment, or interpret results of the participant? Are you sure? Yes. Good, because that would be a stop. You cannot diagnose, recommend treatment, interpret results. That is a huge no. We cannot practice medicine without a license. No. So, well, you may ask the question, well, what if I am a licensed medical professional. What if I am a medical doctor? What do you think the answer is? Yes? No? Who's not sure? One of the favorite words of risk managers on point duty is it depends. So it might be a stop, it might be a proceed with caution, it might be a go. It depends on a couple of factors. Number one, that medical professional, is their personal general liability and medical malpractice following them to the event? And is the local church, the conference, the North American division, the union, the World Church named as additionally insured on the policy, their policy? If the answer is yes, then they may be able to. If the answer is no, they cannot. Unless the local church has contacted my department and we have provided you with excess medical malpractice insurance to cover the doctor or the trained licensed medical professional who would be giving the diagnoses. So, there must be insurance in place either from that doctor or medical professional, or the conference must get you additional insurance in order to cover that. If those two things are not in place, even if you are a licensed medical professional, you cannot diagnose, recommend treatment, or interpret results. Clear? Yes. Make sense? Yes. Good. You're obeying your point duty officer very well. Next, can we provide third-party material to participants so they can, for example, compare their blood pressure and based on the third-party materials, pursue needed follow-up with their doctors? Can we do that? Yes. The answer is yes. You can provide third-party material for them to access so that they can make their own comparisons, and we can recommend that they see their doctor, but we cannot diagnose, recommend treatment. Okay. So the answer is yes. Now, does our general liability insurance through risk management provide professionals liability for volunteers conducting health screenings, and does it also cover the conference? Do you think this is a yes or no? No? It could be yes, it could be no. The answer is yes. Our general liability provides for what we call incidental medical malpractice. What incidental medical malpractice means are those less invasive procedures like measuring blood pressure, body weight, body mass index. But if we get into now diagnosing, recommending treatment, the claim would be denied. Okay? So as long as we stay in our lane with those basic activities, our general liability insurance does cover you. When we are having these screenings, it is important, and you probably can't read it well, but it's the concept that I want to hit home. We have to have a waiver and a consent by each person that wants to be involved in the screening. Okay? You can contact my office and I can give you the request and release. Now I think I skipped a... Say that again? Our visionary vice president is asking the point duty warden to repeat that so that we can all be sure to follow the directions of the warden. It is important that if you are providing screening events for your community, that you contact me so that I can provide you with a release and a waiver of liability for the attendees. That way we would all be covered. It looks something like that. You can take a picture and zoom in on it if you'd like. But again, it's going to depend on the event that you are coordinating. Advertising. Advertising often gets persons in trouble. When we're advertising whatever it is we're doing, We can make no claims or guarantees about treatment or program that is false, misleading, exaggerated, or cannot be verified by reliable evidence. Okay? Can I say that again? Make no guarantees that are false, misleading, exaggerated, or cannot be verified by reliable evidence. And oftentimes, we run afoul because we make some exaggerated claims that cannot be verified by reliable evidence. We cannot create unreasonable expectations, such as by coming to this health fair, you will no longer need to take your medication. We cannot create false or unreasonable expectations. We cannot promote our services or ourselves as if we're licensed health practitioners if we are not. It's very important that if you are not a licensed medical practitioner, that is made very clear. We cannot allow the appearance of being a licensed medical practitioner if we, in fact, are not. If your advertising is going to contain a testimonial, it should be genuine, i.e., a real person known to you or your congregation. It should be current, not from 1918. It should be honest, and we should seek the permission in writing of the person whose testimony we are publishing. That is very important, because even though we may know brother or sister so-and-so very well, and God has done something miraculous for them through the medical and health ministry, they may not want that testimonial published. So it is very important that you get their consent in writing. And of course, we can provide that for you. My time is going. I want to talk quickly about medical, dental, and vision clinics. This is a bit more risky. Medical liability comes more into play. Services that include diagnosis and treatment increase the church's liability exposure, so these type of activities are excluded from our general liability, which only involves what? Incidental medical malpractice. So examples of items that if we're going to be doing a medical, dental, or visionary clinic, or anything that involves diagnosing and treatment, we are taking on a huge amount of liability. So we have to think about, well, if we're going to be doing that type of event, how are the medical records going to be secured? And that's patient privacy, which with HIPAA, PHI security, patient privacy, how that's going to be, medical professionals' credential verification, and how are we going to make sure that all of the persons that are going to be performing the services are indeed currently licensed? How are we going to make sure that the equipment is calibrated properly? How are we going to make sure that we are keeping in line with the statutory laws? The stability of the venue. Can the venue accommodate what we're trying to do? And there are a number of other items that we need to consider if we're going to be holding a medical, dental, vision clinic, or anything that's going to involve more invasive procedures. Insurance requirements. Now, all insurance requirements have to be a minimum of $10 million. Medical lawsuits are incredibly expensive. They're expensive to defend, and the rewards are enormous. So general liability, $10 million. Medical professional liability, $10 million. Workers' compensation have to be in line with statutory limits. Sexual molestation. Unfortunately, some of these medical events open the avenue for bad actors to gain access to unsuspecting victims. So we've got to be covered for that. Auto liability, owned, non-owned, and hired. If someone gets in an accident on the way to the venue, what's going to happen? And the Ontario Conference, the SDACC or the Union, the North American Division, and the General Conference must be named as additionally insured. As you may know, when a statement of claim comes, the lawyers opposite, they name everybody in the lawsuit. So it is important that we are all named in the insurance policy. So every time a church wants to organize a dental or medical or vision clinic, we need to go through an application process to ensure that coverage is in place. The application process is pretty extensive. It asks you all about the event. It asks you about what type of professionals will be participating. And from that, it will let us know what the cost of the insurance will be. To give you an idea, the insurance premium for one event is between $2,500 and $3,000, and it can go as high as $10,000 to $15,000, depending on the event, depending on the number of attendees, depending on the medical professionals that are being utilized. So these events are extremely beneficial to the community, but they offer great exposure to your local church and to your conference. So we have to make sure that we are properly prepared. Now here's a quote from Bianca, our rep at Adventist Risk Management. She says this: organizations that do these events regularly and have been vetted are better equipped than we are as the church doing one-off events. In other words, it's better for us to partner with a third-party provider who has experience in running these types of events, but they need to be vetted. And we're going to talk about third-party providers real quickly in a second. So third-party medical, dental, vision clinics, and the like, they must be coordinated through the conference. So if you're planning to do any of these events, please contact me and Edith so that we can walk you through this. There must be an agreement in place outlining each party's responsibilities and what will be taking place, and it must be in writing. The other organization should handle items like license compliance, legal requirements, medical record retention, patient privacy, and advertising. That should be left up to the third party. The sponsoring organization should have, that's the third party, again, all of the insurances we talked about in the limits of $10 million and $1 million per claim for their general liability insurance. All volunteers of the third party, they must go through proper screening. And it is our responsibility to ensure that we vet the third party. We don't do the screening, because if we do the screening, we're now assuming liability. But we need to make sure that they are doing the screening. And we want to understand what they do if somebody comes back with an unfavorable result. How do they handle that? If we have volunteers from the local church who want to volunteer at the event, send them to the third party for the third party to vet them. Okay? So now they become volunteers of the third party, not of the church. So if anything goes awry, the church's insurance does not get hit. It is the third party because, of course, they have the experience, they have the insurance coverages, and they are vetting all of the volunteers. Okay, we talked about that. Now, at these events, only currently licensed healthcare professionals should volunteer and provide medical services at these events. I know we have a lot of active and ready for ministry nurses, and they're retired, and doctors that are retired, and naturopaths that are retired. They can be utilized in your health screening and health fairs. But in your dental, medical, and vision clinics where we're going to be diagnosing, recommended treatment, and possibly doing some treatment, we need to utilize only currently licensed professionals. The volunteers, they can do things like welcome people and then the like, but they cannot be involved in the treatment and assessment. When we're advertising these third-party events, we need to have a distinct line between us and the third party. It needs to be very clear that we are only a host venue. We might only be a participant, but the third party is the organizer. So when we're advertising, we need to use signage that makes it clear, saying something like on Sunday, October 19th, 2024, Amen, will be conducting a dental clinic at Sample SDA Church between 1 and 6 p.m. So that's clear that they're just conducting it at Sample SDA Church, but Sample SDA Church is not the sponsor or the organizer. We need to avoid co-branding. We cannot make it appear like us and the third party are in a partnership. Because as I said, when lawsuits happen, they're going to name everybody in the statement of claim. So we need to avoid using language like sponsored by. Okay? Unless, of course, we've entered into a partnership, we have our insurances to cover that. If you're planning to do these types of things, again, contact us at the Ontario Conference. If we are going to contribute money to the event, let it be a donation with no strings attached based on our participation. It's simply a donation to the third party. Because again, lawyers follow the money. And if you have invested heavily and it doesn't appear to be a donation, but it appears to be funds to put the event on, they're going to tie us into the lawsuit should anything go wrong. So health and outreach events simplified. Decide exactly what activities you are planning to conduct. Is it going to fall under a health screening, health fair? Is it going to fall under a medical, dental, vision, or some other type of clinic where we're going to be diagnosing, interpreting, recommending treatment, and possibly doing some treatment? Determine the date, the venue, the partnerships, the sponsorships, and the volunteers. The venue is very important. If we're going to be doing a medical outreach event that's going to involve treatment, we have to make sure that the event is suitable. Because I promise you, if it's in an unsuitable event and something goes wrong, the lawyer opposite is going to crucify us. Draft a detailed, can I say that again? Yes. A detailed event proposal. And because I'm on point duty, I know you're going to obey the signs. After you've drafted a detailed proposal, you take it to your local church board, and your local church board must vote the event. Our insurance policy only covers authorized church events. The way a church event becomes authorized is by your church board. It's not an individual getting up and saying, I'm going to do this, I'm the health ministries leader. I'm the medical missionary at this church, so I'm going to do this event without church board approval. It doesn't work that way. You need church board approval. And finally, contact the conference office a minimum of 60 days before the event. We need things to be properly vetted. As I said, medical lawsuits are incredibly costly. We also have to make sure we have the proper insurances in place. We also have to make sure we're dealing with credible third-party providers. And the list goes on and on and on. A lot of vetting goes into ensuring that these events are safe. I think my point duty scheduled time has elapsed. You've all obeyed the traffic signals very well, and I pray that we will work together. And I think being pre-warned of these risk management tenets reduces stress and liability. God bless you as you continue to work for the Master.